Okay, guys, so you're gonna have to be a little patient with me today because it's gonna take a little bit to go through. This is lesson 4.6 for the honors and 3.6 for the math 7. Now, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna solve simple interest problems, okay? Simple interest means that it doesn't compound on itself. We're just going through and figuring out the interest as we go, and it's gonna go each one, okay? So each year. So the essential question that you should be able to answer by the end of the lesson is, how does simple interest show proportional reasoning and relate to the percent equation? Now, I just realized you can't really see this, but the percent equation I've been giving you all along, okay? And so it's part equals percent multiplied by whole. And we're going to change that a little bit, okay? So instead of part, we're going to have interest. We're going to be looking at the interest. It's going to equal, it was percent, but now we're looking at the interest rate. In other words, how much are you earning on each interest, okay? And then instead of the whole, we're going to be looking at the principal. And I'm going to explain that a little bit more. Principal is how much, if we're looking at like a savings account, right? Principal is how much you put into the account to start the account. That's our principal. Interest rate is going through and figuring out, like they may say, oh, we're going to pay you 1% interest on each year that you have this in, or each month, okay? So that's what we're looking at as far as interest rate. Okay, so here's the first example we're looking at. Okay, so first, example 2, okay? We're looking at that they had 11.88 that they earned as interest a month, okay? And what I had to do first in order to figure that out is to go through and actually multiply it by 12, okay? Because that's how much they were earning each month. So I had to multiply it by 12. That's $142.56. Now, once I figured that out, this is my interest. I'm going to multiply that by the interest rate to be able to figure out, because they gave us that the principal amount was $4,000. Now, in order to go through and solve this, guys, we have to do what I've been talking about in previous lessons. We have to go through and isolate the variable. In other words, get the variable by itself. And when we do that, we need to get rid of anything that's on the side of the equation. Because this is multiplication, we do the opposite. So I'm going to divide this by $142.56. I'm going to divide this by $142.56 also. This way, we keep the equation equal, okay? All right? So when I do this, oh, you know what? I actually have this set up wrong. I apologize. Okay, so look, here's what we're actually looking at. I thought it looked a little wrong. I need to switch these around. In other words, we're multiplying by this, and this equals this. Always make mistakes, right? Reevaluate. When I was looking at it, I'm thinking, this doesn't look right. I'm not going to get an interest rate here. It's going to be too high. So what I actually have to do, still isolate the variable, but this is multiplied by the $4,000 in order to get what the interest amount was. So in other words, we're going to divide by the $4,000 and divide by the $4,000 here. Now this gets rid of this. Anything over itself is 1. And 1 times x is x. So this is gone. X is by itself. Now when you use a calculator to do this, you will divide and you'll actually get this. 0.03, let's see, 56. This is simply a decimal, guys. The decimal doesn't work. We need the actual percent for the interest rate. So in order to do that, we need to multiply it by 100. Now, guys, when they do this, they say in the directions to round it to the nearest tenth of a percent. So when I do this, I bring it over 2 places, multiplying it by 100. I need to round to this place right here. It means I need to look at this number. Is it 5 or larger? Yes, it is. So this is going to go up. So my actual answer on this is 3.6%. That's what we're looking at. Okay, guys? So in other words, when they deposited the $4,000, they earned 3.6% interest on that. And that meant over the 12 months, over a year, they earned $142.56 worth of interest. Okay, guys? Okay, let's look at another one. So we can make sure we got this. Okay, so we're over here now. Okay, so here's what we're looking at. In this example, they did it the other way around. They gave us the yearly amount of interest. And so what we did was we went through and we divided it by 6 because they said it was by 6 months, okay? And that gave us $120, okay? So that's our interest per month. And this one, they're actually paying it. So what they did was they took out a loan, and we want to find out what the actual principal was that you're paying $120 a month on, okay? So the first thing I have to do is I have to rewrite this so this is a decimal. So in other words, the decimals right now here, I have to go over 2 places, so the decimal's here, and add a 0. So when I rewrite this equation, it's 120, and it equals 0.06, and we're going to multiply that by x. Once again, I'm going to isolate the variable. It's multiplication, so I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to divide by 0.06. I'm going to divide by 0.06. This keeps the equation equal. This is 1. 1 times x is x. And then when I actually do this division, we have to remember that we are doing money. So when it comes up that it is 2,000, it's actually $2,000. So what we're saying here is they took out a loan of $2,000 at 6% interest, okay? And that meant that they were going to pay $720 over the 6 months. In other words, $120 a month, okay? Now remember, any of these, if they're not quite clear, you want to ask me in class. Now I'm going to do the bonus one, but this is going to take me a second, and this is what I was talking about. It'll take a little bit of time. Okay, here's what we're looking at. Now this is for quiz number 5. It's a 5th number, okay? Now what I have here is I have 2 people who put money into an account. I've got Daryl and I have Lori. Now what they told us is that Daryl went through and deposited $1,500 or $1,500, and he's going to earn 2.7%. So I'd be multiplying that by 0.027 because I have to turn it into a decimal percent, right? And then he's going to earn that for 10 years. So I multiply that by 10 once I get it, okay? Then I have Lori who deposited $1,400, and she's going to earn 3.8%, which becomes 0.038. And she's also going to leave it in there for 10 years. Now, what we need to figure out is who's going to have the most money at the end of this 10 years. So this first step, what it allows me to do is go through and figure out how much interest they earned. If you calculate this out on the calculator, Daryl earns $405, where Lori earns $532. But that's not the end of the problem. We have to know what the total is that they have after they went through and earned the interest. In other words, for Daryl, I would go through and take the $1,500 and add it to the $405 he got in interest. And that would end up being $1,905. So that's what he has at the end of the 10 years. We have Lori, which started out with $1,400 or $1,400. We have to add in this interest, $532, and that equals $1,932. So obviously Lori has more, but they're going to ask you for the difference on this, like what amount more does Lori have than Daryl, you need to figure that out in order to answer number 5. So that's it, guys. So this is a little bit tougher, but the big thing that you want to remember on this is the equation that I put up here. Let's see if we can get it to come in. There it is. Interest equals interest rate multiplied by the principal. Remember, the principal is the original amount they put in. The interest rate is always going to be a decimal. It's a percent, but we're going to have to turn it into decimal. And the interest is the amount of money that they went through and did. Very important concept. You need to write that down in your notes and then go through and put these examples in and set them up in the same format as this. Okay, so you have a good example when you take the quiz. All right, that's it.